Hello, bestie, and welcome to the last 2024 episode of Calls with Your Kinky Bestie podcast. So glad you're here. Apologies for my sniffly, crazy voice. I am sick right now, but I just really wanted to talk to you, so we're gonna do it anyways. Thank you for bearing with, even though my voice sounds a little crazy and wonky right now. Um, I think it's about time that we wrap up 2024 together. And we're going to do a little bit of some reflections. I'm going to take you through some different reflection processes that I do that are, very neurodivergent friendly, especially so I have ADHD and it's, do have some memory issues with that. It can be tough for me to remember all of the things that happened. And just a year's a freaking long amount of time to remember stuff for anyone anyways. And, with personal growth, the thing is that we often don't realize how far we've come until we take a look back and, go, whoa, holy shit, I'm coming from over there. Because when you're in it and you're doing it, it just feels like, oh man, I have all this stuff ahead of me and I have all these steps I'm taking and I'm tired and whatever. So yeah, it can be really hard to recognize and see your own growth and development because you're in it every day. Um, so, it's really important to look back every once in a while. And if you're the type of person that likes to do the whole new year as your time to look back, here's the episode. I actually usually don't do this on New Year's. I usually do my own personal New Year reflection on my birthday because I consider that to be my own New Year reset. But you might take that away too. Maybe you do two resets. Maybe you do a little reset for your birthday and your reset for the New Year. Yeah, I just think this is a really fun, clean energy to step into. So let's wrap up this year before we can be ready to move into the next one. All right, so as you go into your own reflection process, there's a few things I want you to be looking for. The big milestones are really fun and exciting, and that's the stuff that's really fun to talk about. But also the lessons, what are the shifts that you made that maybe weren't as visible to others, but you felt internally, there were some emotional shifts for you this year, where you just changed the way you see things and how you act in the world. And also the tough stuff, what were the lessons that you learned that you really want to take forward with you so that you don't have to learn them again. Because the universe has this funny way of hitting us over the head with a shovel with the lesson that we're meant to learn. If we're not getting it in the more subtle ways, it can really build up and become some crazy dramatic event that needs to set you on the correct path if you're not able to course correct. With the smaller hints, the universe can be really blatant and disruptive with it. So really take this time to focus and reflect on what were those things for you and what are the lessons that you really want to take forward with you so that, you could move on to the other ones because there's so much more for you to learn. Believe me, you can totally wrap up these lessons of this year and find some peace with that and move on with it. And they'll come up anyways if they're not quite done with you anyways. So some ways that I have been able to reflect with a not long-term brain. The biggest one really that I've been having the most fun with is just going through my camera roll. So especially if your camera roll software on your phone or whatever shows you the date next to your photos, as you scroll down, that has been so much fun to just start at the very top of the year and scroll all the way down and see everything that happened. Because, it's really crazy also how your appearance can change over a year too, and how you can start to see yourself differently with different internal shifts you've made too. So camera roll, great way to do it. And I especially recommend if you have any videos in your camera roll, to really take some time and go through those, especially if you have any of your voice and you talking, just to hear in your own words what was going on for you then, and also the tone of your voice, can you remember that day? Can you remember what was going on for you and like the biggest like struggles on your mind then? That's a really fun one. And, you know, if you take some learning away from that, like if that video vlog that you recorded one day, when you watch it, that ends up to be a really great um like tracker for you, or like a journaling tool, I guess you could say. Maybe that becomes something that you want to bring into the new year as your lesson of like, wow, this was really impactful for me to hear in my own words what was going on and reflect back on it. So I'm going to create this for myself so that I have that moving forward. I kind of have that built in with my podcast, which is really fun. And it is about the time of year where I am also getting ready to go back into all of my episodes, and I'm ready for a little call. Like some things are ready to move on. Like, you know, the topic I was talking about, maybe I don't even have offers for anymore, or like the freebie I mentioned in it doesn't exist anymore either. Like all stuff like that. So every once in a while, you got to go back and do that kind of stuff. But okay, so camera roll, number one, awesome tool for reflection. Another great way, and this isn't going to be applicable for everyone, is to go through any like journaling that you might have for the year. So I'm not a huge journaler, but I do journal. Like, there's some weeks where I don't, and others where I really do. It probably averages out throughout the year to be like maybe two journal days a week or something. And I don't always write a ton, but I do write whenever there's something I'm really like working through and want to remember and want to like actively process with myself and like slow down with. Because, you know, it is literally just slower to write on paper than it is to like talk or to write something down. So it really forces you to sit with an idea. But so if you have any type of journaling tool that you can reflect back on, it could even be like going through your email inbox and like emails that you've sent and things you were saying. Maybe it's even going through your texts, because those are something that you're writing out too. Just any way that you can find your own voice somewhere. Because even if like, so first of all, you'll find some really cool major events whenever you go through that like maybe you've forgotten, like little milestones or things that happen, or maybe other lessons that you want to carry forward. But you also like, you can hear it in your voice. Like you can, when you read things that you've written in the past, it can be easy to like put yourself back to where you were then when you were writing that text and remember other things about your situation too. Like, oh man, when I sent that text, I was living in like my old apartment and there was like a maintenance issue or something happening that was really stressful, or I was going through this with my job or whatever it is. So it can be really impactful for all of those reasons to go through your, like any written documentation that you have. And I also like to look at things from even further than a year out. Like I have some, because I don't write a ton in my journaling practice, I do have like years worth of content in like over like like 2 journals. So it's really easy for me to go back like 5 years and see what was going on for me. And so this is a really impactful time for me to go back and look at like, you know, even longer than the past year and just see what was going on and see the shifts that I've been able to make over larger periods of time, and then realize like, oh, how much of that was made in the past year or so. Another great reflection tool, if you are a kinky business owner as well, because I know I've got some of you in my audience. Hello. I love supporting kinky entrepreneurs, is of course looking at your income over the past year through your kinky business. So it can be really powerful to look at like, well, how much did I make this year compared to the last one? What percentage of my income was through this versus like other things that I do? And yeah, if this is your like first year making money, like it is time to cement that and get feeling really good about that and grateful about it so that you can get even more in the next year if that is what you want. Which leads me on to the next, which is that this is the perfect time of year to really hype yourself up with gratitude for all the cool shit that you've been able to do. Because even if there have been like uncomfortable moments, or I guess even though, because we all have uncomfortable moments and like lessons we have to learn, even though we have that stuff that happens, when you look back, you can, sometimes you need to create a little bit of distance with it to like see why that was a good thing. But whenever you're able to zoom out enough, you're usually able to see how like this was a really good thing. Like, I have examples through my life of like, oh man, I didn't get into the school I wanted to, and I was so upset about it at the time, but looking back, oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't go to that school. I'm so glad I went to the program that I went to. Or, sorry, I did get in, but it was going to be really expensive, and so the financial aid didn't pull through or whatever. Just like, usually all these types of lessons and uncomfortable things are blessings in disguise. So there could be those kinds of like bigger things happening for you. This can also be like if you're dating someone and experiencing some type of rejection, it can be really uncomfortable and unfun in the moment. But if someone is rejecting you, it's usually because you are not willing to reject them. Like, oh my gosh, there's these crazy subreddits where people are sharing, all their stories with their partner, and there's one subreddit I've been poking into a little bit, and I don't really know why because I'm not really in a hurry to get married. But it's a subreddit called Waiting to Wed, where people share like, that they're really excited and ready to get engaged and married to their partner, but they're usually frustrated because their partner isn't on the same page or the same speed or whatever. And in a lot of these cases, I read the story where they're saying like, oh my gosh, this is the story with my boyfriend. Like, I can't wait to marry him. I've been hinting for years or whatever. And then they'll kind of like lay out the situation a little bit more. Like, maybe this is a partner that like they're financially providing for even in some way, but that person isn't willing to commit back to them. Or there's other like habits and behaviors going on that aren't really aligned, aren't really attractive to them, but they've just kind of been going along with and stuff. And even just the fact that these people are like waiting years and like really working towards a goal that they have of marriage, but the partner, like the person they're with and like usually exclusive with, is not on the same page as that at all. Like, that is not the right person for you if they don't want to get married to you either. So in all of these stories, there's usually some big traumatic thing of like, I thought he was going to propose then, but he didn't, and then he dropped this bomb on me about how like he never would, or he's just not ready, but it's been so many years or whatever. And when I read those posts, I having been in like kind of similar situations in the past, I'm just able to zoom back and go like, it is actually a gift that person did not propose to you because they didn't want to, and you don't want to be stuck in a proposal situation with somebody who doesn't want to. And just other ways that relationships can work out or dating can work out, where you get rejected, it feels really uncomfortable, you really wanted to be with this person. But if they're rejecting you, they're not the person for you. So it is actually such a gift when someone rejects you to your face so that you can move on because you weren't willing to move on and walk away on your own, so that you can move on then and go on to do the next step, then the next lesson in your path, or maybe, the next person that you'll meet after that will be like the one. You never know. So, all this to say, absolutely, this is a time to look back and think of like those cool, big life milestone, Instagram moments that are super cool and exciting, and feel a lot of gratitude for them, and just like, oh my God, list out everything you can think of that you were thankful that happened to you this year. But don't forget that includes some of the uncomfortable like growth and learning moments too. It can have this, they're just so important, and like we don't grow without those uncomfortable moments. So they're definitely something to be grateful for, because then whenever you learn a lesson, you're much less likely to repeat like the mistake or the just, much less likely to get in those scenarios again once you've like learned the lesson from it. So that is something to be grateful for, that past you has learned the lesson and is ready to move on. It's just really beautiful. So yeah, next point, even if you're not a journaler, Oh my God, come up with some way to write out all your gratitudes. Or I guess you don't have to write them out. But if you want to, write them out in a journal. I like to just fill a whole page and write really small and see if I can fill up the whole page. And sometimes I'll put like little hearts around it between the lines or whatever. That is so fun. Like literally until you're blue in the face, come up with all the things that you're grateful for. Like, wow, I'm so grateful I learned those lessons I did. I'm grateful I got to have that travel or those experiences, or like maybe the holiday season just happened for you and you had some gifts that you wanted come into your life, which is really exciting. Maybe there were some other goals that you had for yourself, like financial goals or career goals, or like a goal to have a partner or something that like came to life this year. This is the time to get really hype about that and thank the universe. Because why would the universe give you more of something that you are not showing that you're grateful for? They're like really accepting and receiving into your life. So a surefire way to get more of the good is to be super, super grateful for the good that you already have. But yeah, also being grateful for the lessons and the uncomfortable stuff too, and seeing it more for what it is or what it can be. Because sure, you could live in a world where like all these things happen to you that are so bad. And that's not wrong either. That's right. But it's also right to decide, like, I want to take some lesson away from this. And I want to be grateful that this thing happened so that I can move on from it and be done with it. And like, maybe this uncomfortable thing led to something better, led to something that should have happened, that like, even though I met this toxic person, like, it taught me these lessons that I need to learn to then get me to my right person later. You don't have to be grateful for the person or the event that happened, but you can always be grateful for yourself being able to come out of it on the better side and to learn the lessons from it, and getting yourself out of those situations. Yeah. So once you've got, so I just wanted to share like different ways to write out those gratitudes too. So journaling is fucking awesome if you ask me, but it's got to work for you, right? So if journaling is not your thing, what's a way that you can record how grateful you are? Is it literally just creating a voice note for yourself and or rambling out all the good things that happened to you, that or all your gratitudes and things that you want to remember and be grateful for? It could just be like talking to a close friend or partner and just like talking about your years and all the reflections and everything like that. It could be like recording a video of yourself talking through it all, but just like coming up with a way to either record it or just get it out into the universe, has such like a clearing energy and really gets you in the mind space to start receiving more good whenever you're like good with the good you've already have. Like you've shown the universe, like, yes, I see this, I'm grateful for it, and I'm so ready for more because I am like, don't you see how I'm accepting and receiving this well? Like I see it and I'm grateful for it, and I am doing this whole lovely process. So, closing out your year, it's time to thank the universe for all the good and let the universe know that you are ready for even more, and that you are also ready to release the things that aren't aligned. Like the very one thing that can happen whenever you're going through this reflection process and like looking at old pictures of you or old journal entries or whatever, sometimes you read something and you realize like, oh wow, this doesn't even feel like me who wrote this anymore, because the me that I am now, I can't even imagine writing something like this. Like I can remember myself writing it, but like the me now, like I would never write something like this. So the very fact that you can look at something and realize that, it's out of place, it's not who you are now, means that it's out of alignment with who you're becoming. So whenever you can start to realize and recognize what are those things I'm stepping away from, so that you can be, ready for the good stuff and ready to step into next reality that is much more aligned with you and feels right for you and feels like it's uncomfortable, but uncomfortable because it's growing in the good, positive direction, not because you're moving backwards, or, those like uncomfortable life lessons that are there to like teach you other stuff. That's not always fun, and it's not always like directly to the path of the thing that you want. Oh my gosh. Sorry, this is a bit rambly. I am a little sick and delirious right now, but I did want to do a little recap end of the year episode because I always think these are so fun. And I did want to share something exciting happening in the new year. It's like 10 days away at the time of recording this, so I will not be sick. I will not sound like this. I will not be delirious. Everything will be fun and fine. I'm doing a sort of like a New Year's planning party where, it'll be a group live call with a group of kinksters. And we're just gonna go through what the fuck we want to have happen for our next year. How it relates to our kink life. Like the kinky lifestyle that we want, like more focused on that than other types of goals, because there's so many resources and so much out there for the other stuff. But it can be uncomfortable to talk about the kink goals and that stuff that you want to have happen. So often it falls to the back burner because it feels uncomfortable to talk about and to share. So this is the call. This is the time and the space for you to be able to share the kinky things that you want to have happen. Whether it's different partnership, having different types of scenes, getting more involved in the community. Maybe it's having a kinky business of your own, or maybe it's just getting more fucking okay with being you and sharing who you are and finding people that are on board with that as well. All of that is meant for you. And so if you're ready for 2025 to be the year that you take major steps in that direction, this planning party is going to take you through in the entire process of getting clear about what those goals are, what would actually change your life for the better and what feels right and next for you. And then breaking that into very actionable steps that make sense for you and your lifestyle that are more personal to you, so that you can actually make it happen for you in the next year. Because also as you're going through your your reflection of the past year and you look at pictures and you look at situations, it's easy to look at things and think oh, this really isn't what I wanted. It's easy to get uncomfortable and kind of want to avoid the truth of man, I didn't hit these goals that I wanted to have. But if you really look at it, if there's something that you really wanted but it didn't happen for you this year, how many times did you really explicitly ask for it? Or how many times did you put yourself in a situation where you could have actually received it? We're talking to the right people about it. We're taking the right action steps. Because waiting is not going to change things for you. You can't assume that anyone else is going to make a change towards the direction that you want them to be, or help you get into a certain situation without you first helping yourself. So you have to be the changer to have, to get to experience the change and all of that. So this is also what this planning event is about, is talking about what are the ways that you could put yourself in situations to receive the things that you want, in ways that actually fit with your lifestyle and make sense with your other goals and things that you're working on too. Yeah, so I'm super excited. If you can join us live, it'll be January 8th, 2025, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But if you cannot join us live, I'm going to be recording the call and just, blurring out the faces and the names of everyone who is actually on it to respect their privacy, but you can still hear people's questions and stuff and, the entire process. And you'll get a lovely digital workbook so that you can work through all the prompts throughout the call too, so that by the end of the call, you will have your action plan for 2025 and your clear goals and everything all laid out for you and ready to go, which will be freaking awesome, because it can be really hard to prioritize and get the motivation to do this stuff on your own. So we're conquering it as a group. We're doing it together. And I am so excited for this planning party. So I really hope you can join us or catch the recording. You just have to be a ticket holder before the event actually happens in order to get the recording, because I'm not currently planning to sell it on its own after that. I really want to make it relevant to this year and the beginning of this year. So I'll have all the details in the show notes. It's called the Your Kinkiest Year Ever live planning event. God, I'm really delirious. So I'm going to close it out here. But thank you so much for listening to this podcast. My rambling being in my world in any way that you are. I know this is a year where a lot of things changed in the way I show up and present. So thank you for being a part of that and really seeing and being here for it. I really appreciate you. And I really appreciate, it takes a lot of work and mindset for me to be able to be present and show up for you in this way too, and talk so openly about kink and self-development and neurodivergence and how all of those things tie together. So thank you for also showing up for it and consuming the content and responding. And, if you've ever purchased anything from me, thank you so much. I mean, that's really how I'm able to keep going, So thank you, thank you, thank you, for showing up so that I can show up for you too. And if you're ready for that same type of energy in 2025 to show up for the things that you want, so the things that you want can show up for you, I would love to have you at the live planning event. The link will be in the show notes, and I will see you very soon, or I guess I'll chat with you next week. All right, bye, bestie. Hope you had an amazing holiday season in 2024 and all things good. And yeah, okay, for real, I will see you next week. Bye, bestie.